So, S per hour, conservative, for doing pirate strongholds. I did 13 the other day in 7.5 hours, including scouting. And I did the reprocessing divided by 200 because the usual drop rate is 50%. And there's 2 neutralizers, 2 signal amps, 1 web, and 1 dampener on each pirate stronghold. Blow it up, 50% drop. So on average, if you do the math, and that's about 30 million, 30.3 million S per pirate stronghold. If I did 13 of them, I add that to the pot and, you know, divide by 7.5, I get roughly a $500 million, 463 million for 8 pilots on grid. Not the optimal, 10 is the optimal, but with 8 pilots, you can get close to it. You get 29.5 million ESC instead of 30 per pilot on grid. And you divide by 8 per pilot, I'm only getting like almost what I would get. This is how much I'm getting. 58 million per pilot per hour. And it scales pretty good. Scaling is very important for stuff like this. If you're going to do something with your multiple alts, what could you best do it as? And you go, okay, well, I can put 8 pilots on grid. It would be fun to try out incursions, but I can only put 4 golems on field, and I don't think that's good enough. And I think the optimal payout is, I believe it's, how many? I forget. I really haven't done any incursion stuff, but I will. So this is the average per hour, conservatively, taking into account travel time, taking into account, this was very shoddy work on my part yesterday, just a very casual day. And there were about at least 3 locations where I got to. Somebody else had gotten to that location first, so I wasted time. So everything taken into account, it's still, right, it's still pretty good. It's like $500,000. $500 million per hour, which is pretty good. I mean, it's not bad. It's dependable, and they spawn like freaking rabbits mating. It's just, ugh. It's really annoying to upwell owners who get the notifications, right? So, okay, so we've got that. Let us check out what I've got so far for the activities. Pirate strongholds, dependable, 60 million per pilot per hour. And you're like, well, if you're a solo player, well, heck, why don't I just do abyssal? Now you can do tier calm. What is calm? So tranquil, calm, agitated. So okay, so tier 2 agitated, you can get 60 million per hour easily as a solo player doing this, right? Why would you want to join? You could have way more fun doing abyssal, right? So, right? So there you go. Incursions I haven't done yet. Yeah, I can only field 4 golems, so I'd like to see how much, because people always say that's the cream of the crop, and you look at the monthly economic report and it's huge. So it would be nice to check that out and do it on the cheap. I think my golems are costing me, I tried to make it the cheapest possible, right, for the fit, but it's still like close to 2 billion per, right? But I got it, yeah. They're expensive. I mean, just the hull is 1.4 billion, right? It's just, oh my god. So I could probably team up with somebody and see if we can actually do it, but I've never done them, and I'd be interested in seeing how it's done and how to do it. So no data on that yet, but much better apparently. You never know, right? Eve's so full of bullshit. people saying they make $1 billion an hour and blah, 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 you suck and I can do it better in nullsec, or, you know, anything but what you're doing, they'll say, but they'll never explain how, which is the way of Eve. It's just a bunch of braggarts lying. You know, it's just a competition. It's the Olympic Games of lying. So distribution missions, mining missions suck. They totally blow for IS per hour. Security, it can be profitable if you do it right. You can get the equivalent. I think it's close to, you know, the break even of 60 million per pilot, right? Distribution missions mostly get their ISK through the sales of the gifts you get, the implants you get from doing the storylines. That's where most of your income comes from, right? The LP is, the loyalty points is where you get the blueprints you get from the loyalty points is where you get most of your revenue. And a lot of corporations out there don't reward blueprints. And some of them reward blueprints that aren't the lucrative ones. So, yeah. And a lot of the factions suck. Galentes are the best. Caldaris are the worst for IS per hour, for, right? But anyways, it's equivalent to agitated. You know? So it's like you're grinding these stupid missions every single time. And once you know what a mission's about, it can get really grindy, you know? But anyways, so security is equivalent. Mining sucks. Distribution, it's pretty good if you go to a hub, a mission hub of level 3, and we're talking about high sec here. Go to a mission hub where there's a lot of agents in the same station, and you can go to a low sec if you're doing level 4s and do those. It's just that the way it happens is you can do a hell of a lot of level 3s in one blockade runner, where you really can't for level 4. Whatever, right? If you like the Han Solo kind of thing, I think you'd really like distribution missions. But, you know, it's not crazy-esque. It's equivalent, right? Now, we won't even talk about that kind of stuff. If you want IS coming out your ears, and if you do it right, yeah, there's lots of ways to make that happen. Destruction. It's not like you're going to be swimming in ISK if you do faction warfare, right? So ratting in low sec is quite lucrative. It's pretty good. It's not great, right? It's not going to get you the equivalent of doing anything else I've just described, but it's fun, right? There are ways of cheesing it, but yeah, whatever. Of course, that's the bounties we're talking about. So that's a no-brainer right there. Don't know anything about Project Discovery. You can cheese it. I know you can. I've heard people claiming that if you get high enough in level, it stops tracking your activity, and then you just garbage. You just throw garbage at it. It's just horrible. It's like griefing in a high sec, you know. I don't want any part of it. I don't know even how lucrative, but yeah, ugh, you want to waste your life, go for it. And it's not even playing Eve, it's a minigame. So that's a navigation, whatever. Sites completed. Now, data, if you go into, if you're an explorer, don't worry about going into wormholes. Make sure you don't have any implants. Make sure your medical clone, your home station is set to, say, Jita or one of the mission hubs, so you can buy your stuff again and start out again if you die. And you might, typically. But if you do it right, get lucky. you can make a decent amount equivalent to doing agitated, 60 million per hour, right? As a solo player, doing sites. Don't get discouraged when you find garbage in HiSec. HiSec anomalies are typically cherry-picked. A lot of things are cherry-picked. Low-sec, cherry-picked. The stuff that isn't typically cherry-picked is in wormhole space and null-sec, because the a-holes aren't there, right? So, yeah, it's good. It's not great. It's not people saying, oh, I did. They're talking about doing sleeper stuff, and that's just crazy. I'm not talking about sleeper stuff, which is interesting because they don't have the sleeper things listed here, and they really should, because it's just a class unto themselves. It's crazy. I'm sure that kind of thing is more lucrative. I'm just talking about the regular pirate data and relic sites in wormhole and the stuff in nullsec, right? There are low-sec stuff, but low-sec and high-sec mostly is punked, cherry-picked, and so is low-sec a lot. But you find stuff in wormhole, yeah, it's great. I would not shy away from wormhole when you're doing exploring. Absolutely, hands down, even as an alpha. Invention, right, you can sell Tech 2 blueprint copies. I don't know how much his per hour is that, Same with copies and stuff. Reactions, industry stuff. This is all industry stuff. Material, this is akin to copying. You're gonna potentially do a material and time research and then copy it and sell the copies. This is all manufacturing. I'm not a fan of it, but if you hopefully don't think of repeating myself, I've had a couple of times at making this video. Take 2, take 3. But if you're going to do manufacturing, the only reason that I would tell you to go into manufacturing, and it could be potentially very lucrative, they're very good, non-hot take, non-clickbait bullshit out there talking about how to do decent manufacturing. And only do this if you're interested in the market game of doing sell orders to buy things and doing to do sell orders to sell things and buy orders to buy things, whereas I do the opposite. I sell to buy orders, and I buy from sellers. I don't I hate interacting with the 0.1 ISK. It used to be 0.01 ISK game. But if you don't mind doing that, and you don't mind competing with the marketeers, the traders on, the markets, then totally get into manufacturing. I think it would be very worth your while. Don't know how much it is per hour. Sorry. But yeah, if you're into that, totally. Remember, most of this is about fun. I mean, I like mining, but I think people who gank in HiSec are idiots, who gate camp in nullsec with bubbles are idiots, who I've got friends who used to, I'm sure they still do, will camp NPC stations for hours hoping the Care Bear logs on and undocks, and they'll shoot the shit for hours and not be AFK. It's crazy. And people, do all those other things I denigrate. But I'm sure they look at miners like me and laugh their ass off at my stupidity of doing something really boring. But to me, that's fun. To them, right? So it's all about fun factor. Resource harvesting. There is a corporation out there who specialize in salvaging other people's missions. I think it's Synergy or something. They've been around forever. A while ago, CCP nerfed salvaging. It hurt that corporation really bad. I forget what they did. But yeah. But thankfully, yeah. Anyways, the planetary industry is a minigame all itself. And it's not Eve. You're playing pretty much a puzzle game. And it's just not Eve. But if you want to get into that, I don't know how much you can make per hour. I used to make really laid back, like 2-week long extraction periods, and I just walk away from it. I would need to go to my customs office and export stuff once every 3 months. It was so laid back, but you could be self-sufficient for upwells. I self-sufficient 8 upwells, 8 citadels. I could easily, like, I'm not kidding you, I was absolutely fueling my guys, self-sufficient, and I barely had to lift a finger to do it. It was great. But yeah, if you really want to go crazy on it, you probably could. It would be stomach turning for me to actually look into it, but it can't be that lucrative, right? I mean, you'd have way more fun doing abyssal agitated. I mean, that's just tier 2, right? Yeah, there's a lot of money in the higher abyssal sites, right? And mining, well, yeah, let's talk about mining. Let us talk about mining. Give me a sec. I'm going to start moving my guys to a pirate stronghold site here. Quite a ways to go, so whatever. Yeah, let's get my guys back in position. So we're done with that. Whatever. Get back to where it was. Yeah, I didn't think I'd have enough time. Anyway, so get you en route.
Warp drive active.
Get you en route. Okay. Yeah, this is really laid back pirate stronghold stuff. Oh, too laid back. Alright, so moon ore totally sucks. The equivalent you could make, like, like I said, I'm not sure if I said it yet, but the dark ochre and nice deposits in low sec are where the ISK is really made. To get the equivalent of that, and it's good, I figure you can make double, like 120 million ISK per hour, and it scales very well, of course. And the equivalent is the rarest R64s in EVE Online. And good luck being able to mine those in low sec, and, you know, you get dry. But yeah, otherwise it's not worth it. You just go do agitated at the very least, right? I mean, this stuff, Abyssal is where the ISK is for solo players. Absolutely, hands down. No word of a lie.
Warp drive active.
Gas, it's pretty good. I mean, you could.
Active.
It's very. It takes you a while. You can't. You, as a small team, I couldn't pop a gas field in low inside of an hour. It's quite impressive. The ISK per hour is pretty good, actually. It's equivalent to, you know, what I was saying before, 60 million per hour. It's decent ISK. It's decent. It's not, oh my god, I'm gonna stop whatever I'm doing and do it. Ice blows. Ice is safe, and the only way you can do it even close to coming even close to being profitable is a bunch of hulks and an orca going full out with total greed fit. That's the only way you could even approach what I've been talking about with the 60 million per hour, right? So the ore, it's not as bad as, yeah, it's, the thing is, at an ice field, the rocks don't pop very fast. Mining actual asteroid belts and not anomalies is, the rocks are so small, they pop so quick, it doesn't scale well. Maybe for a small bit player, maybe it's good. You can make, if you're like for an alpha, I counsel alpha to go in a low sec and do and mine kernite, because kernite is where the money is. Because kernite for an alpha with just a venture, alpha state venture right out of the box, can make about 6 million at least per hour mining kernite in low sec, because the missioners buy it from marketeers who buy it from the miners. And it is so crazy how, like, it's currently like 900 million per 900 ISK per unit, and you can carry, like, yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, I would highly recommend that if you're into, if you're an alpha and thinking, hey, I'd love mining, what can I do that's there right now that I can mine? And yeah, you can set up some really cool stuff and do it that way, because asteroid belts will always respawn their ore exactly where it was before, in exactly the same amount eventually. In low sec it takes 20 days to regenerate fully, but exactly the same amount, exactly the same type, exactly the same rarity. So yeah, it's you can set up bookmarks and be good for the rest of your career in EVE. So setting it up so you could align and travel at warp capable speed instantly in the direction of a station and mine as you go along, yeah, you got it set. So that's fun. But yeah, see, that's 10 times less than you can get as an alpha doing an agitated abyssal site. I know, it's just and that's only because kernite is valued by level 4 storyline mission runners. I know, it's kind of pathetic, isn't it? It just really is, isn't it? It's just, oh my god. So there you go. Faction warfare, I'd like to look into that next. I really would. It would be, I think, a lot of fun to look into. I know there's a lot of multiboxing, but there is with anything. Like, this activities doesn't even show you, well, I'm sure it should have.
Docking permission requested.
The homefront stuff. But CCP will get rid of this activity tracker before it actually bothers to add something to it. They do that. They get bored with something and delete it from the system and make a new one. It's just, could you just? But they won't. It's just them. So yeah, we'll talk about Homefront. So in Homefront, because I haven't done faction warfare, I can't speak to it. In Homefront, you can make, and it scales so well. It's just stupid. It's just ridiculous. Never do abyssal mining stuff, that abyssal mining thing, because, well, let me put it this way. Some people do it, but you use very specialized kits for it and very expensive. So that's why nobody ever does it, because there are so many other, the other options are way easier and way more lucrative. All of them are being run. You can do the raid, which is, you can do really quickly. You can have, what you do is you have a bunch of haulers and then one DPS ship and one Logi ship, and you can finish the mission so quickly. But the main one that was being done was Holy or Aid, the Aid one, where you rep up a structure that's being attacked. That used to give you outsized reward, but I brought it to CCP's attention indirectly, and they fixed it within, well, actually directly, and I didn't file a bug report, but within 6 hours they'd fixed it. So the average you can get is, and it's crazy, it scales so badly. Well, it doesn't scale badly, it just scales obscenely. You know, this, you see the 5 augurs or the 5 osprey, the 5, you know, logi ships whipping around near market hubs. That's homefront. That's these multi-boxers with idiot names, right? So they get, I think, 87 million. It takes them 15 or 12 minutes to finish the site. So let's see, times 6. So they're making $500 million per hour divided by 5 players. And the thing is, that's 100 million per player, per pilot, per hour, right? But it's so brainless, and it's, you just get to the gate, you activate your acceleration gate, they land, they'll rep the structure, they'll turn on their local repper, and then they come back every 2 minutes and check if they haven't been ECM'd, and they just retarget the structure and rep up. Now, if you let too many things be ECM'd, you'll lose the site. So they monitor it a little bit, but it's enough that you could do another team of 5 elsewhere. And so if you have, say, another, you're making 200 million per pilot per hour doing this stuff, and it just can scale ridiculous. I'm sure people are out there with 3 teams of 5 doing this stuff because it's so easy to do these 8 things. It's just stupid. I know, it's just crazed. So there's another one, I think it's metaliminal mining, where you just go in with ventures and mine this thing, and the stupid rats target things individually in focus fire. So the thing that's getting jammed is a thing that's getting shot up. So if the logic's getting jammed, it's getting shot up, right? So you just need a local repper and you're good. And they switch targets, and then you can just rep whoever's being, because the logic is not being jammed. It's just stupid. Oh, it's just ridiculous. And what's the other one? Oh yeah, the Dreadnought thing. That's almost as easy and brainless as the aid mission, right? But the thing is, it's a bit more intensive because you can't rep it when it's shooting, so everybody loses lock and stuff, right? So it's a bit annoying. So it's more work than the aid. But yeah, it's, as you saw, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, the next thing I'll focus on is faction warfare. I'd really like to get into it. Somebody offered to bring me into that and do that, and I'd really like to get into it and have some fun and see what it's about, because my hopes are really high for this. But you do see a lot of botters, and yeah, we'll see, right? But anyway, so that's what I've got for you currently, and hopefully that was informative. Yeah, there are a lot of things that you can do in EVE and have fun. Let's see if I missed anything. What to do? No, what to do? What to do in EVE version 3. So this will be version 4. Yeah, anti-piracy. Thank God Slow and Frat got into, realize that their tradition of telling their members just to ignore high-sec war deckers is obsolete now. They have war HQs. You can blow them up and enjoy blowing it up. Black Flag is currently exploiting the war deck things, you know, hopping between corporations to instantly get back into the war. You know, it's just musical chairs and constant war decking. But the fun thing is, that you can blow them up, and it forces them to do something. And they're like, we could do this all day, but in actual fact, the SRS said the same thing. And BF is their last pretty much stand, and I'm sure they could flee to pirate, but pirate and bully brigade and R whatever GG what, right, and all that stuff, they're currently lying really low, so that's a good thing. So thank God. But like this CCP is ever going to help people like us, right? They never will. And they get their ass kissed so much by these guys, the griefers, because they never complain, right? And if they do, it's right. They cheat, of course, but whatever, who cares, right? Moving on, stealing Moondew. I'd mentioned that but it's just, you'd have to go for the R64s to even make it worth a fraction. You know, it's just not worth it if you're just stealing regular Moondew. It's a waste of your time. Yeah, because there's no ABCs in ISEC, which I really like CCP for having gotten rid of that, and the idiotic oracle mining with drones. It was just, to me, it turned my stomach when I came back to the game when I saw that. Pirate strongholds, talked about that. Insurgency, yeah, I'm not sure whether that's covered by the faction warfare activity thing, but I did talk about it. I'm not sure the lucrativeness of it compared to faction warfare, but I'm sure I'll be interested in. I'll move on to insurgency after I do some actual traditional faction warfare of the new kind. Homefront, talked about that. Oh yeah, pochven. Wait. Yeah, they did abyssal. They've got abyssal listed, but they don't have pochven stuff, which is bizarre, isn't it? I won't be getting into pochven anytime soon. Don't hold your breath. Oh, and they didn't talk. They don't even have edencom trig case stuff, do they? In the activity thing. Lol. ESS banks, they don't have that either. Remember, all this stuff they haven't updated for the activity thing. It's because if people complain too much, they'll just get rid of activities. And I won't be able to show you stuff in game. I'll show you outside the game using the what to do in Eve image. This is the French one. Sorry. No, wait. Is it the English or the French? I linked the French one by accident one day, but yeah, it's the English one. So yeah, I'd have to fall back on using this, which is sad. Remember at FanFest where they showed this off, but they didn't even show their in-game activities disc. Yeah, it's really cringe, isn't it, when you realize, yeah, they'd rather just delete it than update it, because they're lazy little tarts. Duh. Figure it out. I'm sure if you haven't by now, you never will, but you wouldn't be watching my channel if, right? Unless you're looking for doxing material, like a high-sec griefer is. Lol, good luck, guys. Okay, cheese in the air program. I talked about that a bit, but not really. I didn't focus on it hugely. You can do it, but it's really not worth your effort. If you're an alpha, it might be. You can make significant skill points per day if you really worked at it, if you really wanted a skill that you could get as an alpha. You can get about 15 million skill points, approximately, probably less, maybe 12. In alpha, the maximum you can get for your skills, you could probably get about, triple what you're allowed, right? So you can get 5 million, that's your max, but then you can get skill points on Alkali to top that off. It's not lucrative. Trust me, I looked into it. It's absolutely not worth it to bother with that stuff. It's possible, but there are so much other things in Eve that you can make the same ISK per hour that you could, yeah, right, you could think, oh, I could totally skill farm using alphas, but it's like, yeah, but the time you put into it, the grind you put into it, the effort you put into it would be the same equivalent of you doing something else in Eve to make the same amount of ISK to get the same result in profit. So it's not worth it. Yeah, let's try to get myself underway here. So yeah, that's that. I think I covered everything. I think we're good. I'll check one more time because you know, I'd hate to miss something I talked about before, and then, you know, then we get in a situation where, you know, you don't have all the information you need. I talked about Merlin Kernite. Great. Combat anomalies and escalations. Right. I haven't done that. So combat anomalies are great, and escalations from that are pretty good, but it's not. I wouldn't personally do it myself. I know friends who do this and do get me high second escalations at times because it helps them do it. I don't know, you'd have to ask them, but I don't think it's a lot of ISK, but it would be equivalent, I guess. Well, you luck out, you know, it's all about luck, getting that loot drop from the escalation final boss, right? But yeah, as far as a solo player is concerned, the ability to scale up in revenue is the abyssal. So yeah, Torval, yeah, ex-CSM member, yeah, he's great. Totally depend on him for. I lean on him a lot for abyssal sight. You know, because it's just entertaining to watch him, and he really enjoys the game. So yeah, look to him for that. I forget the ones for industry, but you know the ones. I mean, for market, there's always Dr. Oz. He is incredibly biased, though. Be careful. These people do have biases and they have blind spots. So do be aware of that. Oh, bugger. Somebody already did the... I was too late. Somebody already did the... I lost. I was talking too much. Somebody already did the pirate stronghold. That'll teach me to... I'll never learn. This is why I don't make any ISK. This is why I do pirate strongholds, because I'm too busy experimenting. And it's a bad thing that CCP got rid of tranquility, but it's also a good thing because I'm actually most of the time, hopefully, doing stuff that earns me ISK. Because when Singularity was up, I was not making any ISK. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
Autopilot engaged.
Do. Back to base.
Approaching Stargate.
Really not into scouting today.
Warping to Stargate.
It's 4 hours till peak time. Not really interested. Wasting my time. Alright, I'll send everybody on their way. Yeah. That's the thing, I mean...
Approaching Stargate.
If you do this too casually, somebody's going to take it from you.
Approaching Stargate.
Because it's lucrative, and why wouldn't people want to do this stuff?
Warp drive active. Warp drive
I think there's this one guy from Pirate. I think he's either on vacation.
Autopilot jumping.
His computer burnt out, or he's doing the events maybe this month for maybe, I don't know, but I think he's banned for RMT. That's what I think. Because when you scale up with Pirate Strongholds, he had 38 on grid, and I believe going from that, you know, I mean, he used to have 48, but he has 38, so I think he toned it down because he was overkill, right? So I think 38 on grid gives you the maximum, 800 million payout total, and he was doing almost $1 billion per fob, and that's obscene. And if you do the math, and the RMT you know, there's information about RMT, and even if you've never been interested in talking about it or listening about it because you're like, oh my god, ban. But the way we figured, you could make US minimum wage doing that kind of thing with that many alts, right? And I wouldn't put it, you know, the high set griefers, they're griefing players. How thin is the line between that and griefing CCP, right? I mean, I don't know how protected you are using VPNs when cheating like that and doing RMT against CCP, right? I have no idea, but I'm hoping CCP has legal recourse to subpoena ISPs and get them to cough up, you know, or even subpoena the actual VPNs, right? I mean, it should be possible to find out, you know, I don't know, I have no idea about how IT works at all, right? I'd like to one day, but yeah, no. But yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's so stupidly lucrative. It scales so well. It's redonkulous. It's not a zero-sum game.
Approaching Stargate.
Yeah, compared to Homefront,
Approaching Stargate.
like compared to Homefront, the Pirate Stronghold scales very well, and compared to Pirate Strongholds, sorry, my bad.
Autopilot jumping.
It's interesting because on the one hand, if you're flying in one group, Pirate Strongholds scale very well, but if you're willing to split your guys up into 5-team packets, the ability to scale Homefront becomes infinite because they pop up so often and so close and so nearby, and you can do it constantly. It's just insane. So yeah, doing that scales very well. I'm interested in the income per hour per player for incursion, right? So I'm interested in that, but it's gonna, like, I have the ships now, I have the skills, I can do it, but I only have 4 golems, so I need somebody else to join up with, and we can test out doing incursion and see what that income is like, because everybody raves about how great it is. So the monthly economic report does indicate it's very lucrative, but but people have been doing it for years, and I'm sure there's tons of groups out there making bank. And, you know, how much bank per Omega? I mean, how much? So yeah, first off, faction warfare, and then insurgency, and then I'll hopefully by that point in the game, probably a year from now, or half a year, I don't know, I'll be able to look into incursions. And that is it. Yeah. Yeah, this is, remember, this is pre-abyssal.
Docking request accepted.
We've covered, well,
Approaching
C2 ratting, C1 ratting, you know, C3 ratting, wormhole ratting. I haven't really looked into a lot. Don't know how lucrative it is. Wormhole gas sites you cannot do as an alpha. You'll get nuked. People brag about it all the time, but they're lying. They want you to go in and die horribly.
Autopilot jumping.
Ghost sites, right? I don't know that. I'm sure ghost and sleeper sites are more lucrative than the equivalent, right? That I've been talking about.
Warping to station.
There you go, escalations, right? Anomaly ratting, escalations covered by this, but not by CCP's activities thing. Incursions, need to look into that, so we've already talked about that. Mission running. Yeah, level 5 missions, don't even think of doing them. They're controlled by low-sec entities, so yeah, write that off. And I haven't even talked about null-sec mining and null-sec missions, because that's controlled by the null blocks. And if you have people saying, oh yeah, I do it independent, blah, 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 they're either lying or they're doing it with the knowledge of the null-sec blocks, right? And AKA, they're lying. I don't trust people like that at all when they talk about things. I'll never get into it, and I'm never interested in that, because that's just nullsec bullshit.
Docking permission requested. Docking permission requested.
They're probably, you know, they're probably pets to these people. It's like, yeah, I'm independent. Yeah, it's like, how much do you pay them per month, right?
Autopilot disabled. Waypoint reached.
Combat probing, yeah, well, that's just PvP. This is all PvP. Not even going to talk about this stuff. It's just, right? It's like, who the hell cares? Congratulations, you have this coming up your ears. Congratulations. Market, talked about that. Production, I've talked about that. Yeah, skill injector farming. Talk about that briefly. I don't do it for the IS per hour. It's not what you think it is. It helps me subsidize my plexing. You know, my wife wouldn't appreciate me spending hundreds of dollars on hundreds of dollars on Eve, you know, to play this game. I don't think she'd be too impressed. But yeah, this helps me dodge wife aggro. So yeah, this is great for dodging wife aggro. Totally helps lower the grind, because, you know, the passive stuff, it freezes my skill queue, my free skill queue, but I'm at the point in the game after 20 years that I have enough skill points that I don't really need to train up a lot, if anything at all, to enjoy the game. Industry, talked about that. Hauling, right, I didn't talk about that. This would be interesting if you're like in a Han Solo kind of, I talked about the distribution missions, right? Like Red and Black Frog, get into that kind of thing. That would be fun. I really haven't explored the Quarry contracts. I'd like to at some point. Yeah, this is pre upwells too. This is hilarious. Yeah, and the fact that CCP bragged about this and said, "Oh, look, the players did," and it's like, yeah, you haven't even lifted a finger as to improve it. It's like, yeah, it's old. How about you do something with your activities disk to improve it, right? But no, of course they won't, because they haven't a clue. Mining, planetary, we talked about that. Ice, gas, orsite, chat, rookies help, classes, guides, and of course it's community. Which, whoops. Oh my god. Ugh. Sorry about that. Yeah, out of game, in game. Yeah, I mean, oh wow, they actually, yeah, this is sorry, I'm losing the plot now. Yeah, this is interesting stuff. But yeah, I mean, this needs to be given an update, but I'm not going to pressure Altru at all to do it. You know, he's done his bit for Eve. It's obsolete as hell, but that's where we're at, right? So, yeah. Enjoy the game, have fun in it. That's what you can do in it. But it's not... I think hopefully, if you watch this entire video, and thank you for doing so, sorry for all the tangents and stumbling, but you'll get an idea that Eve is not that intimidating as to how much you can do in Eve, right? There are certain things that you just don't want to do. Like if you're into nomadic lifestyle, then wormholes and nullsec is your ballywhack. I tend to prefer to be a homebody. I hardly move more than 12 jumps, literally, from my staging system.
Warp drive active.
And I pick a place to call home, and I don't move. My channel is called Fua Consternation because my home will always be Fua Constellation. Like as in Amod, Nagaton, Sada, you know, almost the armpit of Eve. The armpit of Eve is, of course, Ami. And Fenzi. And that's the armpit of Eve. The Mos Eisley of Eve is Ami. But yeah, it's close by. But yeah, that's my home, right? Will I ever be interested in learning about piracy? I did a video surprising myself years later that looked into DPS per sentry gun. And I've explored the topic of how to game the sentry guns. In fact, if you on grid, you can warp on grid and warp back, and the sentry guns will stop shooting you. So, you know, that's how the pirates do it. They'll have a team of two. One will point you, the other will point you as well, but warp off and warp back on grid, repoint you, and the other person will warp off and warp back and repoint you. And right? And that's how they do it. They'll bump you. The danger of a hauler in low sec isn't, oh, I got a warp core stab, I'm safe. It's, they will bump you before you get into warp. There are the MWD cloak trick. I've done videos about that. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things you can get into that I've gotten into. But once you understand most of the basics, there are some esoteric elements of each career type. But it's still the same. You're in a spaceship, got the same buttons. It's nothing different. It's just knowledge, right? So, and that's the problem with Eve. There's so many loopholes. There's so many different ways of people can take advantage of it. Like the upwells. If you're pointed outside an upwell because you forgot to turn your command bursts off, or you had a weapons timer, basically, you can get pointed and you will be prevented from being docking. But if you're at an NPC station and inside dock ring, nothing will prevent you from docking except a weapons timer. And if you just got potted, your ship just got lost and you're in a, you just entered your pod, there is a cycle timer preventing you from docking instantly. So do be aware of that. That's stuff like that, right? So many nuances to the game that CCP doesn't standardize things, and because they're idiots, they're lazy, and they don't care, and they just haven't a clue. So at the end of the day, and this is all about you, take what you like from Eve. The bits of Eve, the mechanics of Eve that you can not like, you have your own gameplay style. From before you entered this game, your expectations of what you wanted to do in Eve should mold what you pick out of Eve to infuse your intended gameplay for Eve Online. That's immersion, right? If you can use the elements of Eve to play the way you wanted to when you entered this game for the first time, then that's immersion. CCP, on their hand, their only literal interpretation of immersion is strapping you down in the MPE, showing you that cutscene, and forcing you through that scripted, completely irrelevant to anything Eve does, NPE experience, new player experience. I will never use the term new, whether it's sexist, and it's created by the Null Block 100% to be sexist. 4chan bullshit. I will use noob because, when you're noob in Eve, and every day I learn something new. Every day, but there's nothing bad about wanting not to be a noob. Learn past it, grow, laugh at the silliness of the past, but at the same time recognize that to me, noob is always going to be noob. People say, oh, it's denigrating, blah, 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 use noob. You know, it's like, using that term is ipso facto sexist and misogynist. And it grew up out of the, yeah, guess what in reaction to? Yeah, you guessed it. So, yeah, I think using that term is idiotic. And I think people using it really need to grow up and realize what they're actually saying, right? But they won't, you know. They don't give a shit, you know. They think it's helpful when it is actually very elitist and condescending. But yeah, it's like people using the word scrub or scrub lord, or, you know, the 4chan shit that came out of Something Awful forums by goons who are still goons, you know. And I'm sure the other no blocks are close to being equivalent, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Anyways, so yeah, it's just a constant guard against that kind of bullshit. And CCP doesn't care. Remember, they made the Harden the F Up video in 2008 or 2009, and they're constantly on about, you know, they're, you know, killing is just another means of communication, you know, and using all the tropes, the bullshit, awful tropes that the null blocks use, like don't undock what you can't afford to lose. And it's like, yeah, but you have never been a noob in HiSec trying to do missions and losing all your ISK in something that you probably fit badly, in a mission that you had no idea was going to happen, and you lost all your ISK because you invested everything to make ISK, and now you're back to mining kernite and lowsec, or mining ice or whatever, right? And that kind of condescension, the elitist prick attitude, is part and parcel of, I think, all developers moan about their, gaming developers moan about, well, the CCP does it an nth degree, about moaning about, oh, our game's spaghetti code, we can't do anything. And it's like, yeah, that's what gaming company code is, spaghetti. And look at, say, either Star Trek or Star Wars Onliner. They rewrote their game code twice from scratch for free, and you guys are like, wait. It's like the corporate culture at CCP is toxic. I mean, we've seen exposés from CSM members recording stuff and seeing the atmosphere in that building. It's like, yeah, whatever, right? What are you gonna do? Hilmar's got it baked into the Pearl Abyss contract that he's not to be fired. So this is his retirement gig, and he doesn't give a shit, you know? He's never been a true CEO. He's a CTO. He's a Chief Technology Officer, and guess who loves his trendy IPs? Yeah, FPS, here we come. His third FPS. Yeah, do you know what the really sad thing is? The previous FPSs and, you know, Valkyrie and all that stuff were quietly unplugged one summer. Just no fanfare, just bloop. Yeah. So yeah, it's and their new NFT thing. It's just right. It's just focus on the game, focus on what your gameplay was intended to be, and infuse that with the stuff you can cherry pick from Eve to make that a reality. And don't let anybody convince you otherwise, because then you're just going to burn out and not have fun in the game, right? Like, to me, doing pirate strongholds is lucrative, but it's not mining, right? And that's a loss for me. That's why it's a grind. I do it. It's interesting. It's challenging. It's never boring, right? There's 1% chance something horrible happening every time. But it's not really how I wanted to play the game, right? Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, like, what competition do we have? Like, Star Citizen is vaporware, always has been. Elite Dangerous is, I'd like to get into it, but flight mechanics are really gimmicky, but I really wanted to get into it eventually and try it out. But to me, like, look at it this way. It's like watching the Truman Show or EdTV. I mean, at the end of the day, when the show's over, people just change a channel, right? And it's just like that. It might be people, oh, you're going to play because, you know, gambler's fallacy. And it's like, you know, it's I can walk away from this tomorrow. But it's like the devil I know instead of the devil I don't. And yeah, I'll eventually try out Elite Dangerous, and that'll be fun to get into if I like it. But I don't know, there's just something about the flight mechanics that are just... They pretend to be true Newtonian, but it's not. I want to get into true Newtonian stuff. That would be fun. You know? It'd be exhilarating and exciting. But until I can actually get to that point without feeling frustrated with how Elite Dangerous tutorial runs, yeah, right. You know, and what other stuff? It's like, what other options do you have for massively multiplayer online game that's sci-fi spaceship simulation, right? It's hard. There's a 20-year-old game called Jumpgate, which is hella fun still, and mining is, oh my god, but I haven't played it for quite some time. They've got a free server up for the game. Oh, it's so much fun, but there's hardly anybody online, but still, it's, oh my god, it's just, oh, it's so much fun. Dated graphics, but who cares? It's, you know, CCP brags and brags about its graphics, but it's, no, it's like, I could play a 20-year-old game and just have so much fun playing it, and really enthused about it. But yeah, CCP, the game isn't about your precious little, you know, eye candy, right? It's always been that way. Gee, what is out there anyways? Sci-fi space sim. Science fiction massively multiplayer. I think it's I forget the name of it. Online games, science fiction, spaceship simulator. Kerbal Space Program. I don't think it's MMO, right? Elite Dangerous, talked about that. Space Engineers, Faster Than Light. It's, I don't like it, FDL, but it's not MMO, right? MS Spec 2, no. Stellar's got multiplayer, and it's, I really want to check out the game. I haven't for a couple of years. They've done a lot of work on it. No Man's Sky, right, No Man's Sky. I'd like to check out No Man's Sky, for sure. Yeah, No Man's Sky and Elite Dangerous. I don't think Space Engineers is anything I'm interested in at all. Co-op. I don't know about this. The best space sim since Freelancer. Freelancer's flight simulation stuff was this hokey. That's what Elite Dangerous reminds me of. Freelancer's hokey flight stuff. It's just, what's this? Starbase. I think I heard about this. Not sure. Ixion, Starfield. Oh my god, Starfield. Yeah, let's not even go to Starfield. What? Yeah, garbage. Home 3, of course, multiplayer and stuff, but it's not MMO, right? Can you imagine if they made a homeworld MMO? Oh my god. But yeah, pipe dreams, right? Yeah, I don't know. That's it. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.